Right, this is part 2 of a walk through the garden in July. I figured it was better to do shorter videos for you all, so it makes it more watchable, because I'm sure some of you get bored. I do always congratulate you all if you've made it to the end of the long ones. And I'm sure a lot of you don't make it to the end, so I'm going to start doing shorter videos. So that's the boardwalk running off down there. It's looking really good. Everything's starting to establish, which isn't bad because we've only been here 3 years. Fatsia japonica. Now look, I was going to do some sort of a video on how to keep these, but there's been absolutely no need. But now there's 1 or 2 leaves going yellow. Now that's just a result of what they do naturally. It does need a little bit of a feed down here, but it's not suffering because of the water or the lack of, because these are very, very rubbery leaves, and they will hold moisture. They do not release much moisture. But as a natural progress of any sort of evergreen plant, they have to lose leaves at some point. And if you want, you can simply remove them, and generally if they've got to a yellow phase, they'll easily pull off. They're actually quite nice at this point. It's quite a nice colour, but that's a dying phase of it, so it was never going to keep it, and it drops them, as do all evergreens. Here we go. This is Miscanthus riparius, and I keep saying I want it to make 12 foot. It's definitely 11 at the moment. It is a stunner. I love this one. Absolutely beautiful. The wind's whipping it around, splitting some of the leaves, but nevertheless a beautiful, beautiful looking Miscanthus that must be contained at all cost. If you don't contain that one, you will pay the price. And one thing I don't usually show you, because I can't this earlier on, was this. And this is a kind of a plum colour that the stems produce as it gets going. And it starts dropping off leaves. And one thing I do tend to do with some Miscanthus is remove the lower leaves. The lower leaves on them. And I've done a video on this before, but not with this particular one. But this one tends to lose them itself anyway, and produces that wonderful, wonderful plum colour. Beautiful, and that should continue up, and you can see in the splits here it is going to continue all the way up as it goes along, so it's looking good. As I said before, delphinium's not really a delphinium man anymore. This one's a perennial, and it's Requiana. My neighbour is going to come and collect some of the seeds once they're done. Look, another good pollinator. Remember, I like pollinators. All plants are pollinators that produce flowers, to be honest with you. Some are better than others. And that one is proving to be quite nice. Now, this is a dinky little knife ophy. Don't know what it is. I could look it up. It was in the garden already. Quite nice. I'm leaving it. And it's backed off by that one there, which is just Centaura. Just the ordinary Centaura. Looking good. I have to be careful of this one because I was going to remove it because I was finding couch grass and I keep pulling it out. I keep pulling that out. I'll not let it worry me too much. Now behind it we've got Helianthus Cape, the sunflower that produces masses and masses of sunflowers. It's dinky at the minute and it's not getting as big as it did last year. Everything seems to be a little bit smaller this year. And again, down to the weather. So nothing I can do about it. And this border is the owl border. All based on that little critter up there. And that's the tawny owl. Not the one that was flying around in my wildlife pools. So that one up there is a cast bronze one. Now this is another Phalictrum here. The one at the back there. And it's one called Anne. And supposedly a better form than Ellen. Which is hard to believe, but I actually feel that possibly it has a better purple colour. I really ought to test it by putting a Phalictrum Ellen next to it, and let's have a look at the differences. And I may do that at some point, but for now we'll leave it as it is. This knife ophy is going over now. Look at that. That's the last of it, the last bits. And then what I tend to do is I just leave them alone. I just enjoy I just enjoy them monoliths. Just look, another designer's trick. And you can see they're all mimicking the telegraph poles behind them. And they're little tricks I'm doing all the time. Little design idea tricks for you. Save you a fortune getting a designer. Now this is again Eupatorium. It's purpureum, and it's called Skinny Mini. It was a chance seedling in 2003, so it's proving to be pretty good and remains very good indeed. I did give that away to 2 other people, so let's hope they're giving it some respect, because I do want that one to come to the market as Skinny Mini. Now this is another Miscanthus called Cabaret, and this one is excellent. They're a little bit later to come up in these parts of Lincolnshire anyway. A lot of the grasses, the Miscanthuses in particular, a little bit slower to come up, but that one will only make 5 foot, maybe 6, and it's a clump former. Rarely flowers. The one that you want, if you want to get one that flowers, is another Miscanthus, which I shall show you in a minute. I'll not mention its name yet until I show you it. And that's a golden form of that. And it does flower every year, and generally without fail. So this is the Deschampsia I said was a chance seedling again. And I've actually found another chance seedling from this particular Goldschleier. Not this particular one, but another Goldschleier. And it's proved to be 4 foot, quite tall, not as tall as this one. This has been measured and it is 5 foot, so it's quite unusual. So hopefully we'll be able to spread it to you people out there as a new find, and a very nice one indeed it is as well. And it's the height really. It's a very healthy clump down there. That's kind of green with sort of tones of yellow in it, and it is just a stunner. And that is naturally growing like that. There's nothing extra added to it. It's just been watered as normal through the rainfall, and while it was establishing, I watered it in quite frequently, but no, not much more than that. So it's doing all right. There's another Deschampsia there, Deschampsia cespitosa, and this one's called Scotland with a SCH. So it's like Shotland. And that's a taller variety as well. Now I suspect that I didn't have this particular variety when this one's found down the nursery where I kept all my plants, but I did have another one, and I'm now going to tell you there's one called Cabana Buta, which is a very strong growing one. This one isn't. Say this is Shotland, and it's quite nice, and it's a strong tall grower. And I would have said that had I had this one with it, this one could have been one of the parents. Now this, I'm very impressed with this. This is Monarda, and I just love the name because there is a grass called this as well, and sadly I've lost it, but I have got access to get hold of it again. But this one's called Gewitterwolk, and it means storm cloud. Let's try and get that focusing for you. It's a bit windy, so there you go. Look at that. Okay. There you go. Look at that. It's just beautiful. Producing that little added touch on top. Maybe that's why they call it storm cloud. I don't know, but the colour is just amazing. I absolutely love that. That is beautiful. So that's Monarda. Beautiful. And it's supposed to get to about 4 foot, I believe. If memory serves me right, it should make that. Over time. While we're here, can we see anything else that's looking particularly good? Not really. Pretty much, I'm trying to get linking plants in here, so we're putting same varieties in these borders. Let's show you this one now. This is particularly good. This was given to me by a good friend, and it's really, what do they call it? I forget the common name of it now. But this one's actually called Oenophera Sonnenwend. And it's good for moths because it sort of gives it scent out at night. Let's get a better shot of that for you. There you go. Lovely colour, really vibrant colour. Almost reminds me of the Trollus. that you can get that I don't have anymore, but it almost reminds me of that colour, which is very, very nice indeed. So that's Actaea, and it's simplex in the Eupatorium group. And really, you grow it for that look, because it has that look consistently through its growing phase, and then it produces a tall flower, almost bottle brush type flower, quite upright, but it smells of bubble gum. It's a beauty. Then just behind it, that's the Eupatorium that I'm praying next year makes it to 9 foot, because apparently this is a chance seedling that was found up at a nursery at Halifax called Dove Cottage. And give them a look online. Unfortunately, they don't do mail order. That's one single stem, and the stem is thick, and I think over time that is going to prove that it will make 9 foot, because that's the thickness of that stem. So bear that in your eyes, keep it there in your mind. And then this is Skinny Mini, my own one, that is, I would say, a third less in the thickness of the stem, or the girth of the stem. It's quite nice. I like it. So I'm in the boardwalk border here, and I walk through these borders because I have to show you all that's going on. And the one best way to do it is actually stand in the border and do that. Now, for those that view me regularly, you know that I was growing this Euphorbia. It's a Euphorbia cross Pasteurii. And remember, I said I think that it might succumb to the winter, and it did succumb a little bit. And I said I've got it in the best place that it can be in, and it is doing okay. As it gets more mature, it should be able to take the conditions better, but they're not really hardy as we'd like them to be. Nevertheless, I get it for that lovely look that a lot of Euphorbias have, and it will make a big shrubbing type of Euphorbia. So it's still a bit immature, this border. Remember, I'm always swapping and changing things, putting new plants in, trying plants out, see what will work, see what won't work. Now this is a cracking grass, this. Here's the label for it. Again, I got this from Dove Cottage, and I was very, very pleased to see this. This is a P. Oodleflom. And I'll read it where it says, what it lists it as. Now, it was formerly Trans Parentimus. Now, they got it from Pete Oodle himself, which is quite exciting for me, because I think Pete Oodle's brilliant. His choices are great. But this was, again, another chance grass, chance seedling, I guess, and it's a typical Millennia, but it's called Crystal Vale. Pretty difficult to get hold of, so I was very happy when I found it up there, because ironically I'd been watching it online and sort of viewing it with envious eyes, because it makes a lovely clump. And then went up to the nursery there, and they had it, and got it from the man himself, Pete Oodle, who said to the chap, "Do you like it? If you like it, dig a bit out for yourself," and he did. And then it got named as Crystal Vale, and it's a cracker. So try and find that one, it's wonderful. Now, I've been looking at this. This is Dianthus Carthusianorum. It's going to be very difficult today to focus things in, because the wind is so powerful and blowing things around, so it's not really letting things focus. There, we've managed to do it. Now, it's in the wrong place. Dianthus, all Dianthus aren't the same. There's another one called Cruentis, a smaller variety than this. Let's try and focus again if we can. Probably not, never mind. But anyway, it has this very sprawling appearance, and I've decided I am going to put it in some supporting plants, because that's really what it needs, but it does need a drier area. So I'm going to grow it up and through other plants, which, as you can see, it's growing up through this Eupatorium, and it's doing really well there. It's actually supporting it, so that's the key, and that's the secret. For those old enough to know that phrase, you know what I'm talking about. Foxgloves are doing all right. They've done really well this year. I mean, this one's huge. This is 7 foot. And the bee, I've left them, even though there's only a few flowers, because the bees, as you can see there, are still visiting. I won't allow a lot of these to self-seed. There's a few here that's got to come out this weekend. I will remove them. I've got no fear that I'll never get any again, because they'll be everywhere. For every one that you remove, there's probably 4 more waiting to come up. So I'll have no hesitation in taking them up. But until they've finished that flowering, that final little spurt at the end, I'll leave them alone. This is Salvia caradonna. It is doing so well. It has been flowering for weeks and weeks. It continues to look good. I love these poppies. They look great. Is it Papia somniferum? Yeah. It's the one they're growing fields to do other things with, shall we say. But we won't use them for that purpose, will we? The grasses are doing well. The Miscanthus, another month and a half, and they'll be at their best doing their thing and starting to flower. They're not at the moment, they're all leaf, which is fine with me. Now this is, again, the little one that I've got, the one I'm working on, or it's in a trial, it's in its 3rd year, probably the 4th year, but 3rd year in the garden. And that's a sport as opposed to a chance seedling. So remember, a sport is a plant that derived or grew from its parent plant via whatever, the root, the stem, whatever, and showed different attributes. This one came from a zebra grass called gold bar. So if you look up Miscanthus gold bar, you'll see what that came from, and you'll see from that it's absolutely nothing like it. I had to cut it away from its mother plant 4 years ago, and it shows these colours, these purple tones, and they are coming again. They're starting to come in, which is what I was praying for. It stays diminutive, very small. Not seen one quite as small as this, and I've got a working name as Sprite, which I will probably keep if it proves this year that it's going to do it. And I should say after 4 years, it's going to prove to be pretty reliable. So we shall see if we can get that one to the market. The Achilles are doing well. Look at this. I just love this one. Just love it. In fact, I'm going to snap a picture of that one. So that one is Achilles credo, and defined by the great Ernst Pagels of the Miscanthus grass-growing man. I just love it. Remember, these types of plants are the ones you want if you want to introduce butterflies into your garden. You need to be looking for these types of plants, and credo is an exceptionally good upright, very strong one now. I'm learning. One or two of them flop. There's one in there that looks like it's flopping, but I think it's actually bent itself over in the wind. Yep, it has, and it was unable to get back up. So now and again I walk around and we look at that and correct it. So some poppies now. These are the Shirley series poppies, and they have all different sort of tones in them. Now the true Shirley one should have a black inner to it, but I know that's come from the Shirley series, that pink one, and so has the red one. Red ones, as I've said before, we tend to take away a little bit more because they produce too many, but I leave some of them in. It's looking great there. Again, it's got that Euphorbia Excalibur behind it, which is looking really, really nice. And then we've got the now named Ilotellophaeums, the old sedums, and that one's called Carfunkelstein. What a beautiful combination of colours. Look at that. Stunning. Love it. Grasses are doing well. I'm not go on too much about the grasses. I know I already have. But this one, if you're looking for something really nice, I've got to highly recommend this one. I bought this one from a place called the Plantsman's Preference, and they're down in Norfolk in the UK. They are online, look them up. And this one is Miscanthus sinensis and one called Samurai. Beautiful colour. There it has from the word go, and it produces a sort of skinny seed head that's purple or plum coloured, and is another stunner. Now if you're looking, and I know I've uploaded a video for plants that do well in really dry conditions, I couldn't include everything, but this one would do well in there, and this one's Salvia officinalis. Look at the bees on it. There's bees on that one. They love it. It's good for pollinators. There's tiny little bees on it as well. Other flies are loving it. Everything's loving that one. It's quite nice. And that's just a self-set seedling next to it. Maybe I should do another video on dry gardens, because I've got several plants that would fit that bill, including this one, which is this is another Achillea moonshine. Unfortunately, flops a bit, hence we've contained it. But nevertheless, it's very nice. So everything's looking good. Kathy's arbor seat is looking absolutely stunning. It's been very much a winner for me. It's done really well. Quite like that. Again, this is another border which I call the Pergola border. It's still new. Things are growing new. In fact, I'm going to have to give that bamboo a couple of gallons of water, because you can see it's rolling its leaves up. So if you ever see any grasses or plants doing this, rolling the leaves, it means they want watering. Now remember, this was taken out of a plant pot less than a month ago, and that's why it's doing that. So this is all looking good. Shady border looking great. And this is that Digitalis Stewartii. Last year it made a massive single stem and then produced 3 off of that, and it's self-seeded everywhere. And this year it's coming up again. Remember, it's a perennial. Most of them are, all except this variety, which is the purpurea types. They're biennials. Oh, finally the Veronicastrums starting to flower. I really like these because they do match my grasses lovely. Unfortunately, I do not have the name of this one. It's Veronicastrum virginicum, and I seem to think it could be one called Fascination. Don't know. My friend dragged it out of his nursery and didn't really have the label with it, so he couldn't be 100% sure. Never mind. Now this is a good example of this particular grass. This is Calamagrostis Waldenbush, with that open panicled look, and then behind them the taller, skinnier ones. That's the next phase on, so they're going through different phases. There's 3 plants in here, one smaller which I moved, the other 2 I never moved. So it just shows you move them at the wrong time, this is what you end up with. So that one at the front, which is a good 1.5 foot shorter than the ones on the right, was moved. Them 2 were not, they were left where they were. So they're doing really well. I love these. This is a lavender, and this one's called Munstead. So named after the famous Gertrude Jekyll place, Munstead Wood. And it's really nice, doing really well. It's a dry, again, another dry plant for a dry area. So maybe, yes, maybe I should do another one. This is a Achillea chrysocoma, and I love this one. I love it. It can be a bit sprawling like that, but nevertheless, a very nice one. It looks good from the minute it comes up. So it's Chrysocoma grandiflora, means grand flower. And so it is. Look at that, that's a stunner. Is that not a stunner? I love it. Oh, I do get excited. So exciting at the minute. Things are looking so good. And when you get a warm day, and yeah, yes, okay, windy day, it just does the soul good, doesn't it? It feeds the soul when you're in a garden like this. And this here, that's another pampas grass, but it's not a pampas grass. Now, I'm going to tell you that that's Cortaderia richardii, but it's not. It's got another name, and I've just recently realised that I've been calling it the wrong name. I will put it up on screen what it is. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I will memorise it over time, but it's the most elegant type of pampas grass that you'll ever grow. And so it is. Look at that. That is just stunning. I love it. I love it. You will need some space for that. The clump at the base can make 4, 5, 6 foot easily. It can be split in spring and kept small, or you can contain it, put it in other plants, keep it restricted, and it will stay skinny. And this is a particularly skinny form with its flowers, not the leaves, but the flowers, and it's a Bob Brown selection. So it's really nice. Bob Brown of Cotswold Garden Flowers. He's online as well, so look him up. He's a great plantsman as well. So we'll end this video here, just as the sun decides it's going to come out. This is the gravel garden and it is a dry area, so everything looks good in this area at the moment. Everything's looking excellent. That's Syringium agavifolium, and that one's Raponticum centraudes, which is looking really nice. Again, I will put these names on screen. And the Verbena bonariensis finally is flowering. Now this seems to see through this particular one, and it's called Buenos Aires, believe it or not. I thought it was a spelling mistake, but it is a type. Buenos Aires, and it stays smaller. It's not lollipop, it does say it's about double the size of lollipop, but less than the ordinary Verbena. It was very nice, and it is very flowery, so very floriferous, and produces lots of them all the way down. And it self-seeds, pretty true. That's a self-set from the original. So let's end up here. We're going on a bit now, aren't we? And this is Helenium Morine Beauty. So it's the first one that's flowering for me this year. And it looks truly stunning. That's an even better colour there. Look at that. Look at those colours. They are just amazing. It's one of the best Heleniums. And that's Fennel, Feniculum vulgare, which is looking really nice as well. And then Phlomis italica. Might be going a bit quick for you on these, but we will put the descriptions up on screen. And that is a beauty. That will produce purple flowers. And what have we got there? Oh yeah, there we go. Look, if you don't know what a baby ladybird looks like, there you go. That is a baby ladybird. It's just growing and eventually will turn into the ladybird. Okay. Oh, let's give this a quick mention. That's a Rhododendron macrophylla, the large clump forming one. Nevertheless, it is a clump former, especially where I've got it in a drier area. And there's a look at the size of those leaves, massive. And the dead bits, that's last year's growth. These will make it to that this year, although having said that, maybe not this year. Who knows? Okay, so we shall call that a day. We'll take you down here for the last view. Little look across the garden. Can't show you it all in one view, but there you go. One of my favourite views. Talk to you on the next one. Ta-da.